Use the steps below to graph the following parabola. Find the x-intercepts by plugging in 0 for y and then using the zero product property. So we'll plug in 0 for y and we get 0 equals x minus 3 times x plus 1. So now the zero product property tells us that either that has to equal 0 or this has to equal 0 in order for them to multiply together to get 0. So x minus 3 equals 0 or x plus 1 equals 0. So we get x equals 3 or x equals negative 1. So I'll go ahead and draw some axes here. We get x equals 3, 1, 2, 3, or x equals negative 1. Those are x-intercepts, negative 1, 0, and 3, 0. Find the y-intercept by plugging in 0 for x. So we get y equals 0 minus 3 times 0 plus 1. That's negative 3 times 1. So y equals negative 3. So the y-intercept is 0, negative 3. That's right here. Average the x-intercepts to find the x-coordinate of the vertex. So I need to find the spot that's right in the middle of the x-intercepts. So I know if I count my squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd have to go over 2 squares. So the line of symmetry is right here. So now I know I can put an extra point right there. And the line of symmetry is at x equals 1. So when we say average the x-intercepts, we can find the average of two things by adding them together and then dividing by 2. So we could do negative 1 plus 3 divided by 2. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. And we get 1, which is the same thing as we got here just by looking at it. So the x-coordinate of the vertex is 1. So now we need to figure out where to put the vertex. We need to find the y-coordinate. So we have to plug in 1 for x. So y equals 1 minus 3 times 1 plus 1. That's negative 2 times 2, which is negative 4. So the vertex is at 1 comma negative 4. Which makes sense with our parabola. So here's our parabola. For the function f of x equals the square root of 3x minus 2, find the value of each expression. So f of 1 would be the square root of 3 times 1 minus 2, which is the square root of 3 minus 2, which is the square root of 1. So the square root of 1 equals 1. For f of 9, we need to plug in 9, so f of 9 equals the square root of 3 times 9 minus 2. Which equals the square root of 27 minus 2, which equals the square root of 25, which is 5. Here we'll plug in 4. We get f of 4 equals the square root of 3 times 4 minus 2, which is the square root of 12 minus 2, which is the square root of 10. This we'll have to do on a calculator. The square root of 10 is 3.16. And here we plug in 0, so f of 0 equals the square root of 3 times 0 minus 2, which is the square root of 0 minus 2, which is the square root of negative 2. Remember, we can't take the square root of a negative number. It doesn't exist. So there's no solution. The square root of negative 2 does not exist. What value of x makes f of x 6? So we want that 6 equals the square root of 3x minus 2. So now, just like to undo a square, we did a square root. To undo a square root, we square both sides. So we get 36 equals 3x minus 2. We add 2 to both sides, and we get 38 equals 3x divided by 3, and x equals 38 divided by 3 is 12.7. All right, here we've got some diamond problems. So we want two numbers that multiply to negative 63 and add to negative 2. 7 times 9 is 63. And so let's see, negative 9 and 7. Two numbers that add to 10, or multiply to 10 and add to 9. Well, it's going to be negative 9. Oh, wait, no. Add to 9, 5. Multiply to negative 10 would be negative 10 times 1, or negative 1 times 10. Negative 1 and 10, and then negative 1 plus 10 is 9. Multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 2 would be negative 6 and 4. Multiply to 66 and add to 17. Let's see. Multiply to 66 would be, let's see, I can think of 22 and 3. 22 times 3 is 66. But 22 plus 3 is not 17. So let's see, I need to try numbers in between 22 and 3. So 66 divided by 4 is 16.5. That's not right. 66 divided by 6 is 11. Oh, 11. 6 times 11 is 66, and 6 plus 11 is 17. Solve the following system of equations. So I noticed that my variables are not lined up, but I can probably easily switch this negative y and the 5x to make them lined up. So I'll do that and use elimination. Y plus 3x equals negative 10, and negative y plus 5x equals 2. Now I can add my equations together. My y's will cancel out, and I'm left with 8x equals 8. Divide by 8, and we get x equals 1. So we'll plug that back in here, and we get y plus 3 times 1 equals negative 10. Y plus 3 equals negative 10. So then we subtract 3 from both sides, and we get y equals negative 13. So the solution to the system is 1 comma negative 13. Draw a sloped triangle and use it to find the equation shown in the graph below. So let's see. I'll draw a sloped triangle between these 2 points. And I'm gonna look, I noticed that my scale is a little bit weird. It's not just going up by ones. So I'm going down from, let's see, this is 150 all the way down to 130. So 150 minus 130, that's going down by 20. And I'm going over from 2 to 4, so I'm going over 2. So the slope of this line is negative 20 over 2, which is negative 10. The y-intercept is right here at 170. So the equation of this line is y equals negative 10x plus 170. Write the equation of a function that takes the parent equation y equals 2 to the x and shifts it up 4. So to shift it up 4, we have to add a number to the end. So we could say y equals 2 to the x plus 4.